If you asked me to describe my desert island meal, it would be something along the lines of what author David Sedaris answered to a similar interview question. I'd like pasta, served on a plate made entirely of pasta, with shaved pasta on top. I might even add a set of French fry flatware to eat it with, and a napkin knit from tiny strands of ramen, with which to dab my salivating mouth. Though I've never actually eaten this fantasy meal, it is safe to say that Carbs and I have had a torrid love affair over the years. Sometimes my attraction is healthy. Sometimes it's not. In the moment, that pile of spaghetti can make me feel so warm, comforted, and taken care of. But friends and medical professionals warn that it's a one-sided entanglement with toxic long-term consequences. One day, at the end of our honeymoon, Carbs will leave me at the bottom of Health Mountain, and I'll have no choice but to walk back up it again, all alone. I've found myself in this exact position once before. When I was 22, I was diagnosed with the autoimmune disease Hashimoto's thyroiditis. During the years that followed, I transformed from a vibrant, albeit naive, young professional who ran 4 miles a day into a thin-haired, sluggish insomniac who could barely make it up the subway steps. Having just left my corporate job to pursue a career in food, I was terrified of the idea that a change in diet was the key to getting back on my feet. But at the urging of an integrative doctor, I finally agreed to go gluten-free for a short period to see the effect. This was my first time eliminating a food group, and I experienced both the promise and the pain. It became clear that I had been completely subsisting on wheat. Muffins for breakfast, sandwiches for lunch, pasta or pizza for dinner. Once my mind got through the first stages of grief, I opened my eyes to the transformation my body was experiencing. All my symptoms, the fatigue, skin rashes, weight fluctuations, gut problems, were dialed down to a much more manageable volume. So, I stayed off gluten and never looked back. Except that wasn't the end to my carb confusion. I kept getting conflicting advice from doctors. Some said it was dangerous for women to be super low carb. Others said I hadn't gone far enough. Strict approaches like the autoimmune paleo plan were the only way to get thyroid antibodies under control. The same pushing of ultra-low carb approaches came up again as I dealt with my next health hurdle. SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Some said you couldn't heal the gut without taking out all grains. Others said that removing them would be detrimental to the long-term health of my microbiome. Meanwhile, disaffected former keto-philes kept knocking on my virtual door. These were people who had also experienced the highs and lows of a restrictive diet and ultimately found themselves belly up by the side of the road as a wagon full of meat and cheese sticks sped away. Like many of my readers and listeners, they had come to my website, Feed Me Phoebe, to find healthy comfort food and a saner way of eating, and to weed out the barrage of conflicting diet information on the internet that ranges from doomsday scientific scare tactics to wishy-washy lore from so-and-so's energy healer aunt. My philosophy of healthy hedonism has long been my guiding light in and out of the kitchen. I learned the hard way through my elimination diets, autoimmune struggles, and bouts of obsession that if you're stressing about what you're eating all the time, no amount of kale can make you healthy. Rather, we all have to find that sweet spot where the things that nourish our body can be offset by the practices or foods that feed our spirit. And for some of us, French fries speak to our soul. Yet we also know what carbs can do to our blood sugar and how constant instability can affect every corner of our health. The science has been clear. Metabolic issues are the cornerstone of so many modern chronic illnesses, including diabetes, fatty liver disease, polycystic ovary syndrome or PCOS, potentially Alzheimer's, autoimmune disease, and depression too. We also know that the lies we were told in the 90s about fat was misguided. It was the carbs all along. So, how do we marry these two truths? How do we have a healthier relationship with carbs, embrace being an omnivore, and not ignore the writing on the wall? How do we face this uphill battle with a food industry and production system that seem to be stacked against us? How do we have our cake or French fries and eat it too, without the fatigue, insomnia, breakouts, depression, and chronic illness? That is the goal of this book, to reteach you how macronutrients work in tandem and how to adjust your habits so they do so in harmony. Common sense lifestyle changes don't sell books as well as rule-based fad diets, but they are often the backbone of what we need to do to be healthy, be it balancing blood sugar, supporting hormones, or fighting inflammation. And you can do all these things, believe it or not, while still eating carbs.